call the meeting to order and ask everybody to rise for the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome everybody. Hope everybody has power and everything's back on and good for everybody. We're going to start with citizen comments. So at this point you can come to the podium. You have 3 minutes and you can speak on anything that is on the agenda. If you have another concern or thought or something you would like to share with us that doesn't involve the agenda, you'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Do you have any citizen comments? No. All right, moving into celebrations. Adam.
All right, well, bear with us today because with everything going on today and the last few days, the board meeting was actually a little bit of an afterthought versus obviously usually a priority, but I think we'll be able to push through. So with celebrations, I got a number of things. I'll start with opening day, which seemed a long time ago. Seems a long time ago now. But it was always great to see the entire team back. I think there's been a lot of positive energy. I've received a lot of good feedback on everything going on in the buildings. I think we had a very impactful keynote speaker who I know resonated with a lot of our staff who have or are experiencing similar experiences with the profession, given all the additional burdens and stresses that come with it, which have only become more so over the last several years. But he did a nice job, and I really commend the buildings for a really thoughtful agenda throughout that first week. I'll touch a little more on that in detail later on. MSA, another story that we have up on the website. This is kind of a tradition in the Math and Science Academy to have student research published, and this past year was no exception. A number of our graduating seniors had their research published in journals over the summer. So I have links on there to the articles where you can go and read those. Be forewarned, they're pretty nuanced and complicated, and even the titles are intimidating. But congratulations to those students and all involved with the MSA in terms of getting them ready and have original published research coming out of high school, which is quite an achievement. Outside of the stories on the website, I'd like to publicly thank our police department and the Fraternal Order of Eagles in town for their support during construction, especially over the first couple weeks of school. They have been, the Eagles was extremely generous in providing their parking lot for Williamston parents to utilize. They have also donated a lot of school supplies and made a monetary donation to the district as well. So the Eagles have been great partners over the last several weeks, as they always are. And as always, the Williamston Police have been very present throughout the schools and the neighborhoods adjoining the schools during the period of construction. And we greatly appreciate their ongoing efforts to keep kids safe on their way to and from school. I also want to extend my appreciation to the community for their patience during the period of construction. I think we've all been pleasantly surprised at how well things have gone, especially at the elementary campus during arrival and dismissal. So I know some folks are using some of those alternatives, whether it's the Eagles parking lot, the McCormick Park parking lot, or using the extra bus that we put downtown at the football stadium. But it looks pretty much like normal. We've been able to start on time, and it's been a pretty smooth logistical operation. I know a lot of us were dreading lengthy delays going into the start of the school day and during dismissal, but for the most part, things have looked pretty much status quo. So appreciate everyone's efforts to continue that continuity. As you know, over the last several days, we had pretty scary circumstances in the community. In my role, there's some times you make decisions that you instantly regret, or regret not long after you make them. And, you know, we spent a lot of time on Thursday deciding if we were gonna send the football team out to Zealand. It was a tough decision, and we built a contingency plan in place to make sure that we had adequate transportation support prior to sending them, but continued to feel uneasy throughout the evening, and then, you know, the worst, well, not the worst possible, but all the weather-related issues that could have happened. So that was a late night, probably one of the most stressful of my time as superintendent. So I do want to commend Carrie Gray, Terry Van Horn, Nigel O'Connor, and Nora Stanton for getting all our kids home safe. If you talk to them, it was a pretty rough ride they had to get back to school. Also want to thank our football coaches. It kind of goes to show coaching football or coaching any sport is more than just running the practices and games. So after having lost pretty much all contact with anybody, because there was no cell, there was no internet, I was somehow able to hotspot a phone and get in touch with Steve Kirsten, and he kept me up to date until we found every single one of the football kids, because many of them had gone home with their parents, and we knew there were accidents. And so it took about close to 1 in the morning, but we had 100% accountability. We went to bed at night, and that was obviously the most important thing. After we got our kids home safely on Thursday, a lot of folks gave a lot of extra time and effort into making sure we could start school today, working almost continuously throughout the weekend, despite the loss of most of our communication systems. So I'd like to make sure I thank Jim Davis for his work in saving as much of our food as he could. It saved us a lot of money, but it also made sure kids had food when they came back to school today. Our technology team, in particular, I think he left, Zahar and Wilhelm, he's kind of been a one-person show for most of the last month or so. He was here until after 11 last night, and back at 7:30 this morning, and still here to make sure everything was working for the board meeting tonight. We're going to get our phones up and running, which we finally got everybody up around 3 o'clock today. And then Brandon Weingartz, he's here, he has a presentation along with the custodial maintenance team. They were here throughout the weekend. Went out, found generators, got all those hooked up. We're running shifts to make sure they stayed with fuel in them so we didn't lose our food. We're here all day on Sunday, making sure when the power came on, we didn't have any issues. They fixed door locks, they fixed HVAC. So pretty much everything you could think of was offline. And less than 24 hours had everything up and running. Like I said, everything was working except for the phones. And techs got those up before the end of the day today. So it's a great reminder. You got a lot of people here to care deeply about the district and even more so about our kids. A lot of the stuff that goes unseen, especially on weekends or late at night or early in the morning, but greatly appreciative to everyone's efforts to make sure we could have school today. So those are celebrations. Pending any questions?
Will the drop-off at the Fraternal Order of Eagles, is that the correct name?
Yeah.
Will that stay for the whole year, or is it just during construction? I mean, I think construction will be the whole year, but.
Yeah, so so we don't staff it, so it's really a resource for parents. You can get within 800 feet or so of the school, and we have a walker station that we are staffing at the just behind the baseball field, the city field. We'll have to have continued communication with the Eagles and see if that's something they feel comfortable with after the construction period's over.
And we still have a lot of students utilizing that.
I mean, it depends how you define a lot, but I mean, there's a group of families that have taken advantage of it, so it is being consistently used, and it keeps you out of the congestion in front of the school. So, and the walk is about the same. So, I mean, it is something to look at if you haven't already.
Any other questions? All right. Next we have education update. So I'm going to turn it over to our highly amazing, effective Director of Facilities and Operations, Brandon. Should we give you a little demo?
Yeah, it's like Adam said, it was a long night on Thursday, just make sure the buses get back safe. And then, early morning on Friday, just making sure we had everything shut down in the facility, so when power did come back up, we didn't have any surge in power and didn't lose any equipment. So I think everything's okay. This summer was a little bit different than any other summer since I've been here for the last 5 years. Every other summer we've either had a secure entrance to do or a roof to do. So this was the first summer that we were kind of able to spread the wealth over multiple projects throughout the district, which you can see in the slides. So the big ticket item was the parking lot repaving, specifically here in the front of the middle school and the path coming back to the parking lot. That's just super heavily utilized with buses and then with Cattle Library. So that was one of our biggest needs, worst parking lots in the district. And then the other big item was the walking path at the elementary school and then the playground at the elementary school. So the walking path, I didn't have any paperwork on it, but I was told by One Way that they did that in 1998. So it's 25 years old, and I couldn't find anything that said that there had been anything done to it since then. So it was well overdue. The next kind of item that we were able to sink our teeth into this summer was the concrete repairs. We did in the front of the Discovery entrance, main entrance. This picture is the dome entrance of the high school. Again, there's deterioration over the years from all the salt put down. This is the main entrance. We did the entrance to the pool and fitness center, the curb out by the band wing of the high school. Those were like the big areas that we had to look the most trip hazards at, and we were able to really tackle like the big issues, what I feel are the big issues this summer with those. And I think that the next couple of years, we'll be able to continue to add on to what we did and just continue to improve the outside of the building, something that people are able to see right away.
Is that with your team doing the work?
No, this is all contracted
I
out.
was gonna say that looks,
Yep.
looks to be really impressive.
Yeah. No, this is all contracted out. The next item we did was the Explorer Gym. Last year with ESSER funding, we were able to improve the HVAC in the building, and that was kind of the first step. We kind of had some ugly spots on the walls where we had the old heating unit, so that was able to come down, and now it looks nice. So the picture on the right is before we got any of the banners rehung back up, but it's now crushed ice color, which is similar to, or is the same as this room. And then we've also have wall pads ordered, so wall pads will go on the end of the gym, corresponding with the basketball court. More painting is the high school, the F wing. This is like the science pods is there. We kind of have this reddish orange color. So we just painted that so it matched everything else we've been doing over the last few years in the high school. With again, this crushed ice color with the green pinstripe. We also painted actually inside the pods of there. That's like kind of like the lobby area outside those classrooms. Those were done also. I didn't have a good picture of those, so I didn't include that. The high school food prep area and the serving area, we were able to paint that this summer. Jim Davis from Food Service got some signs in there and just really kind of gave that whole area new life. The next item was something that was kind of Adam and I have had on our list for the last couple of years, but this year we were actually able to get into it, and we replaced all the classroom doors in the circle. They were wooden doors, old doorknobs. Couldn't even tell you how old those things are, but now they're all steel metal doors, and we have all new lever handles on those. Locks similar to what we did approximately 4 or 5 years ago in the 3rd grade wing and the preschool area at Explorer. Continuing with security, we added to our closed circuit camera system, upgraded the software which is super user-friendly now. I think everyone that has the camera system and utilizes the camera system, it's a super easy to find, track events, go back and look at what's going on, easy to monitor. We did 15 cameras on the exterior of the elementary campus, and then we did approximately 3 more here at the middle school and at the maintenance shop. We also added another 4 or 5 inside the middle school, 4 more inside the high school, and we're just continuing to add more cameras with what we have. Continuing also with security is the hallway room numbers. Staff has been super impressed with these and really responsive, saying they like those. And you can see them, it's simple. It's just like if you see like in a hospital or anything like that, just like the room number sticks out, but it's super easy to look down the room now and see where you're going. So I don't know if they're really telling kids like, hey, you can go down a room. You know, I think maybe for the younger kids, you can see, hey, my room's C6, so you walk down and see C6 and go in. But the big thing is for law enforcement, prior to this, is if there is any kind of event, the only way you can tell the room number was if you're actually standing in front of the room. So now you're able to look down the hallway and see it, you know, the entire length of that hallway. Infrastructure stuff. We replaced the pool boiler at the high school pool and fitness center. That was done earlier in the summer. And then something we found during the summer was the hot water holding tank at the elementary school. It was leaking. It was not able to be repaired, so that was replaced. And what that does, it's a little bit different than like what you'd have at your house with a hot water tank. How this works is there's a boiler that heats up the water and it holds it inside that tank, and then it's distributed for sinks, for the kitchens, washing your hands, washing dishes, things like that. Cosmetically, we did Kids Corner. We did 3 classrooms there. That was utilized with some grant money that Rebecca had and was from their general operating budget. This is, it's a different product than we've used in the past. It's a luxury vinyl tile, and it's 2 feet by 2 feet square, similar to like what this product is, but it's more of like a stone type of look instead of a wood look. And again, just kind of like a pilot thing we're trying to see if like, hey, is this something we want to go widespread district-wide with? Kind of more cosmetics is the exterior of Discovery, the stucco. It was prior to me. There was a part of the building was washing the outside around the windows and gutters, and it's just been, this has always been one of those things that I've always noticed but just never had the time or resources necessarily to take care of, but we were able to utilize some funding this summer, and we got the outside of the building washed, so now it looks nice and clean. Something we've been able to work on the last couple of years is tennis courts. So we were able to throw some more money at the tennis courts, and this is something that we just kind of know is a routine maintenance item with upkeep that you need to do. Just with anything else, is repairing the cracks. And again, we're trying to bite off little by little every year, so it's not a $20,000 expense or more every 4 years. If we can spend a couple $1,000s every year, then we'll continue doing that. Kind of some of the curricular things is the robotics room and the esports room. The robotics room is the one on the left, and there's some workbench table purchased last year and some other furniture. The room's in the process of being painted, just kind of livening it up for those kids. And then the room on the right is the esports room in the high school, then the C wing down by the library. That we added the same floor product that we did at Kids Corner Little Hornets, just a different color. We purchased gaming chairs, we painted the whole room, and we kind of went extreme compared to what we would do anywhere else. It's black, and then the very top it's the green, same green that we use everywhere else in the district. We're still looking at some other things to add to that. Blackout curtains to make it dark in there. They purchased some LED strip lights, and I think there's a sign to hang up still that's in the corner there or in the picture, and then another TV. that's kind of was the summer in a nutshell. But if there's any other questions or any questions that anyone has, I'd be more than happy to answer.
You make it sound so easy.
Oh, yeah, it was good. It was a fun summer. Just like I say, I feel like we were able to take care of a lot of needs this summer instead of just repairing a roof.
Yeah.
No one sees that. They notice if the room's not leaking or there's not a leak in the hallway. But this summer it was fun to be able to see a lot of things that just anyone coming down the street can see. Like, oh, the sidewalk's been repaired. The parking lot's been taken care of. There's been new lines painted in the parking lots.
New
Stuff like that.
lines.
Making our own money.
Yes.
I noticed new trees being planted. There's some right out here, and
Yep.
we walked around the playground yesterday and saw some over there. Is
Yep.
that part of
That's
your
just
work?
a member of the community in the neighborhood. He's passionate about trees, and I don't know. I think he's been doing it for the last 3 or so summers. He's just been adding some trees. He added some also on the north side of the middle school. Say he's doing some over here. He's done some down by the baseball fields behind the elementary school campus, and I believe he's also planted some west of the soccer fields at the high school. So it's just something we've kind of allowed him to do and take up some of that space, and like say specifically by those baseball fields, say, okay, in 10 years now, there'll be shade for the parents or families watching the baseball games.
They look really nice.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I know you should leave after this. You will leave. You are to leave. But I just want to personally, and on behalf of the board or all of us, thank you so much for everything you did this weekend. I know it just sounds easy, like you were just here and fixed stuff, but there was a lot of back and forth and problem solving and figuring out how we're going to do this and calling places and getting stuff and getting it here and moving it and getting your whole team moving and doing everything that you needed to do. It is very, very much appreciated, and we very much thank you
You're welcome.
for all of that.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank
All right.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
for
Thank
being
Thank
here.
you.
Yep.
That is a lot to get done. I know firsthand. You get a lot done in the summer. All right, back up for your service or professional development.
Yeah, an update, just quick highlights of the in-service professional development. Obviously, there was a lot that was done, and the agendas are pretty loaded, so I'll just hit some of the highlights, and if you have any questions on anything else in there, please let me know. So by building Discovery, worked on a number of social and emotional supports for students and focused on continuing their professional development on bookworms. They'll be moving into their second year of that curriculum now, much like Explore. The autism awareness PD there was rescheduled, so you'll probably see that in a future agenda later this year. They also worked on safety and emergency preparedness, which was a theme throughout all the buildings. So moving on to Explore, much of the same in terms of their focus. Also joint training that was conducted by Amanda Galidas on, and a variety of other folks on medical, behavioral, and academic supports. Somewhat mirroring some of the things that were done at Discovery. At the middle school, they had a focus on technology, both in terms of the rules of use for students and then also some practical ways to implement technology in the classroom for our faculty. Also, as you'll see almost every year in the middle school, they have a pretty routine system, making sure they kind of go back to the basics and continue on with items that are just part of that building's common practice and culture. So you'll see things like a recap of CHAMPS, multi-tiered systems of support. CHAMPS is like a behavioral classroom management system, or philosophy, I should say. And then their grading for learning practice. And so even if you come into that staff new, you get a crash course in all those things, so you know what the expectations are and how the building operates. And it's also a good recap for the rest of the faculty on those things as well. And then the high school, majority of the high school time was focused on safety protocol, as well as building on the opening day presentation, developing some social and emotional supports for staff, and of course, board goal number 5, which is their standardized grading practices. And sat through a lot of those conversations and was really impressed with how the faculty have been working through those and developing systems and creating ideas for what that can look like. We also had opportunities for our ARC staff, the elementary and special ed teams, to do some planning and preparation during the in-service week. And then I guess I'll just sum it up by, it was a small thing. Most folks, actually probably I'm the only one who noticed it, but it's a big deal to me. So when we were in the guest speaker, the keynote speaker, I noticed that all the building principals sat close to the front and they all sat together. And that speaks volumes to the type of culture we have, and the collaboration we have between those leaders in the buildings. Obviously, they lean on each other heavily for mutual support and ideas and problem solving. But the fact that when you have a leadership team, we're on their own, is all sitting together, working together, it kind of creates that picture of a unified front. And it's one of the first lessons I learned as a young Army officer is that you go in and you sit with your team and the folks that you work alongside with. And so the fact that they're demonstrating that cohesiveness on their own, to me, speaks volumes about the kind of leadership group that we've assembled in the district. So it's a small thing, but it's one of those things that I pick up on right away, because we haven't always had that kind of cohesive leadership group in the district. So that was the in-service summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions on anything you saw on the agendas.
Any questions for Adam? All right, moving on, upcoming presentation and discussion items.
So superintendent's report, just kind of keeping appraised of what's going on with our investigation into the bond initiative. Today we interviewed 2 finalists from the architectural firms. Really in depth, I think quality conversations with both firms. They kind of have a different approach in terms of their philosophy. We've sent those proposals on to our law firm now for an additional review, and we'll see where we stand after we get that feedback from them. On Wednesday, the bids for the construction management firms is due, and then the following Wednesday, which I believe is the 6th of September, we'll be interviewing them. How many firms we interview will depend on the nature of their bids once we review those at the end of the week. The Sex Ed Advisory Board is having an organizational meeting on the 19th of September. Christina Holmes, who those on policy have met previously, will be coming in to help facilitate that. And then there'll be a training for leadership of that group, including the Sex Ed Supervisor for the district in November at the Eaton RESA. Part of that organizational meeting will be discussing folks interested or not interested in being the co-chairs, and then we plan on bringing those names back to you at a later date for formal appointment. We don't necessarily have to figure this out tonight, but we are trying to knock down or lock in a date for the board workshop in January. So I know with power loss and a lot of the other issues, the survey didn't quite go the way I was hoping for. But we have the 16th of January and the 29th of January. I do have the consultant on standby, so maybe we can work on that later this week and try to get one of those dates locked in.
Yeah, did we?
We're close, like we're close. I just probably need another 24 hours and we'll get it squared away.
Okay, did anybody not get that survey?
Well, you might not be able to see it if you don't have power. So-
Well, no, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
because when I did it, there were like several people, so yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
no,
we'll
we're
figure that out.
pretty much there. I just give me 24 hours and I think we can get that locked in.
Okay,
September meeting, the September board meeting, to be determined topics. We initially planned in the bond timeline to bring a proposal, a recommendation, I should say, for both the architectural and construction management firms. I'm probably going to push that back to the first meeting in October just to give us a little more time to get a legal review of the proposals, but I'll keep you updated on that. We have plenty of time, so it's not a big deal, a couple weeks difference. In October, amongst other things, we're going to start the board goal update summary as we do every fall. So I'll start providing a recap of some of the progress that was made over the past year on board goals. That'll continue on through the next several meetings. Obviously, that culminates in my evaluation in November, December. So same process as we've had. And then lastly, on Thursday, this Thursday's home football game that starts at 7, we will be publicizing this tomorrow, but we're going to have a community night a way for members of the community to kind of come together and enjoy something positive after a very challenging last several days. So that'll be, the game starts at 7. It'll be free admission to anyone in the community that wants to attend. It's also youth night, so there'll be a lot of kids there too, which will be, I think, a nice addition. And we're also working on coordinating with a variety of local first responder agencies that responded to buildings that were knocked down and evacuating the retirement home and the various tragic accidents and injuries that occurred on the highway south of town. So we're working to get those folks out of there and do some kind of tribute prior to the game starting. So we'll get those details locked in and publicized tomorrow, but we're hoping that the community can come out for a free evening, support the football team and our cheerleaders who had a heck of a last Thursday and Friday. They could probably use a little pick-me-up too, but really just an idea for community to come together and enjoy a night out at no cost and just kind of rally behind each other. So look for more information on that tomorrow. And that is it for my update. Any questions?
Okay. We don't have any board committee reports. So moving on to discussion items, we have new board policy. Can you turn it over? I don't know who wants to take it. You, Adam?
I can start. So this was in the packet last week, but wasn't up for discussion yet. We had some clarifications that went to the lawyers. Looks like largely unchanged other than a couple of blue or green lines, I can't tell, where we're allowing the superintendent or designee to make a call. Advertisements are intended to generate revenue. And then one thing that we discussed internally is that we didn't want advertisements on the interior or exterior buses. Originally it was exterior only. And if there's additional context, I'll leave that to Adam.
So I talked to 3 attorneys on this. You might not be surprised they had slightly different opinions, but settled on one recommendation that I thought made the most sense and answered some of the questions that the committee had. So some of those changes are notated in there. Some of the items the committee had asked for, like the advertising on, as Dave said, on the interior, exterior buses, and removing that second part of that statement. There were also some questions on what constitutes a forum, and so versus trying to explain it myself, I passed out the opinion on how that works, some of the legal caveats for the board to review. So it took us a little longer than I thought, but I think what we're bringing is the most legally sound version of this policy, which would be a complete rewrite from what we had previously.
So if I was a student at the high school and I wanted to pass out, I don't even know, pass out something, whatever, because I'm a student of one, and I don't have any of these things, like I'm not misleading, it's not violent, it doesn't have swear words, I could stand in the hallway and pass out my.
So this was part of what we needed some clarification on. So under Part B, Section 1, it defines a student group, and this was a bit of a rewrite, and I guess they didn't highlight this part, so it might be a little different from what the committee saw originally, so I'm glad you asked. So
Yeah, what page was this on the attachment in the board book?
what page? It's on 41.
Okay.
41?
Yeah, it's 41.
So B on the bottom of page 41, paragraph 1. Student group is one or more students participating in a recognized curricular or extracurricular activity, such as an athletic team, student council, academic team, or student club. So this would be something that the board has provided either permission that it's a district-sponsored or district-sanctioned group. Under Part 4 of that same section, it defines what a non-student group advertisement would be. So this would be something outside of what the board has approved. And typically, in terms of practical application, things that are board-sponsored or sanctioned, those are things that we can advertise formally. If it's not, those are something that typically in schools go up on the community information boards. So there's a place to put those things. but they're not distributed in the same way as a board-sponsored or sanctioned group would be able to do.
So, and I'm just putting this in very simple terms. So, I'm a student. My mom wrote a book. I want people to read it. I'm not allowed to pass out a flyer asking them to buy the book because I do not meet the qualifications of an athlete, student council, academic team, or student club. Oops, sorry. For the non-student. Is that correct?
You would be able to ask to have it put up on a community information board, and we would.
Right, but I
grant that.
couldn't just hand it out.
I mean, it's a student, technically,
Yeah, so this is,
I'm sure there's things that get handed out occasionally, but are board sponsored, but. Yeah, you can hand out an
Right,
my
like
birthday
it is.
party is next
This is
weekend.
right,
I mean, we're not
right.
gonna go around and say that you can't pass out your birthday invitation at the high school, so.
but would that be allowed in Discovery?
They explicitly don't allow, those things at Discovery because it usually leads to exclusion issues, but they have community information boards at Discovery.
Correct.
You can post things on.
Okay. Any other questions about this?
We get there's a lot of
This
good
is
examples.
in-depth.
There's a lot of people in the community that want to do like really great things for students and help out families and things like that. And, so again, we find ways to publicize those on our information boards and
Correct.
get the word out, even though it's not technically a board-sponsored entity, but, we have good intentions and we're trying to help, so we figure out a way to make that work.
Any other questions about this policy? We're okay moving it to the September meeting? Yep. All right, if you have any other questions, get a hold of Dave or Adam. All right, can I please have a motion for the approval of our minutes?
I move that the Williamston Board of Education approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on August 14th, 2023 as presented.
Second?
So first Deb, second Chris. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries. So we have some separate action items. So can I please have a motion to approve the district emergency operation plan?
I make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the emergency operation plan.
Second.
So first, Sarah, second Dave. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I please have a motion for the board policy revision and removals? Where's the list?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve revision and replacement of the following board policies as presented. Revise 4040, safety, 8042, enrollment criteria for resident and non-resident students, 8350, student suspension and expulsion, 8350R, student suspension and expulsion due process, 9250R, use of district facilities, 9400, visitors to the school, 9400R, visitors to the school, 9470, unauthorized person on district property, 9620, relations with political organizations, replace policy 7760, controversial issues.
I second it.
So it was first by Chris, second by Deb. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have our review of board goals there. We don't have any comments. This is our second opportunity for citizen comments. No citizen comments. Any board member reports or requests?
I just want to say that I was at opening day, and it was really nice to see all the staff back together. It was just a really positive event, and also when Chase Melky, who was the keynote speaker, I thought that his message really resonated with everyone, and I thought it was really powerful when he talked about how one person who resonates positivity has a domino, has like that chain reaction to other people, and that just shows how one person can make a significant difference in our district, and how one person, it's like the hand that touches the hand that touches the hand, and I just thought that was really powerful. So kudos to having him. And also, I was at open house since the last time you were here for the elementary, and I thought that it ran really, really smoothly. And again, so nice to see everyone back.
Very good. I was not able to attend opening day, but I saw some pictures. I really like how it was set up this year. It seemed like everybody had a place to sit. No one had to be banned to those old-fashioned picnic table, lunch table style things. So that looked really nice. People looked comfortable. I've also heard that keynote speaker before, so kudos to whoever decided to bring him in. He is very good. Anything else?
I watched the video about climate in the
Oh,
schools.
yes,
Did you
how
watch
was
it,
it?
Nancy?
I watched some of it and then.
So, there's a lot of really good information there. In fact, it was kind of like coming out of a fire hose at you. There was so much, but there's a lot of grants available if schools are going to be involved in building operations. And there are a lot of environmental grants and things I'd never heard of, like there are electric school buses. I didn't know that. And they made a good case for why football fields should be artificial turf, which you would think environmentally grass would be good. But because of water shortages and all the energy involved with maintaining it, many schools are going to artificial turf. But there was so much in that. If any of you want to listen to it, I could send you a link to, it was recorded, so I can send you a link. But I think there's some things in there, and Adam, if you'd like to look at it, I'll send it to you. I think there's some things in there that we need to be looking at pending future building.
I agree. I do have that on my list to talk to Adam about when we meet. Because I did get that. There's a lot of, and I don't know if we can use them, but it was very interesting when you're going through a bond and that the environment is very, very important to, especially this younger generation. And if we could get a grant or write grants for certain pieces of it, I don't know if we can, but that was very interesting.
The person who recommended that for our board to see this video is the person who's been planting the trees.
Yeah.
And I think we should thank him in some way. I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
He just takes it upon himself to plant trees around town.
Yeah.
And I think he was a former professor at MSU. His wife is a professor at U of M. They're kind of a pretty cool couple.
Anything else? I do, again, want to just state that there were a lot of people this weekend, secretaries, food service, Adam, I'm sure many people that I don't even know that were really problem solving and trying to come up with ways to get our generators and food frozen, and who can we move it to and who can we call and who can come and help move. And there was a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people problem solving things and a lot of people willing to help in staff. And staff like, my son's here and they can go help, or my husband's home, they can run up and help. And so I really do want to thank them. We can, to any teacher or anybody who I'm sure had to come in and get classrooms ready, or staff, it was greatly, greatly appreciated. I also on the way here, ran into a family at D&W who said, thank you so much for having school today. We do not have power and our kids needed to go to school. Like, we were going to get them to school whether you had school or not today. We really needed them to be in school. Like, they came home and were very appreciative of having a meal, because we've been, she stated, it's kind of fun to camp and have hot dogs on the grill and do things like that, but when you're doing that all the time, or going to fast food, and she said they were very appreciative and had one of the happiest days they had being in school today. And so she was very appreciative. So I did nothing to get us up and running. I just got to see all of the emails and the texts and people going on and on. It took everybody in this and who work here, including Adam. And so I appreciate it and thank everybody for that. Anything else? All right, I will take a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
I second it.
All right, so first Chris, second Deb, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, have a wonderful